Maybe now there's sound. How about that? Is there sound now? Little known fact, when a mic is on mute, you can't hear anything. I didn't know that. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is the 21st day of the We are just starting off wonderfully today. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is the 21st day of the Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is the 25th day of the 11th month. It's November 25th. My name is William Bryant Miles, but you can call me WBM, which means you're watching what? The Wonderful World of WBM. It's morning TV for the 21st century. If you can't tell, I'm just waking up. That's why we call it morning TV for the 21st century. Clearly, I don't have it together. And so let's just jump right into the show. So I'm playing with some products that I have never used before. And so let's just see what happens. So little known fact, but my show goes head to head with one of the shows we discussed, which is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And we briefly discussed it last week. Am I gonna do a little bit of a scar? Yep. I'm gonna try like a little ridge on my nose. I don't know if this scar wax is gonna work though, but we'll see. We go head to head with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And I started watching the franchise. Let's see how far I make it. You know, my attention span, what it used to be, even in a pandy. And it is, this isn't gonna work, but we're gonna try it. The show takes place in Salt Lake City, which, if you don't know, is home to the Mormon population, or rather, it's home to the headquarters of the Church of Latter-day Saints, which is essentially the Mormon church here in the U.S. Now, they did something weird on the app. I guess they're trying to build the audience, where they had like episode 3 was like on there from Jump. I don't really know what I'm doing, but we'll see if it's anything worth mentioning. They had episode 3 up, like it premieres right now, but I watched it last week. Brianna Kristen says she watched it. She just watched it. And it's a very interesting group of women, I'll say, right? Because you have the Mormons. Some of them are current Mormons. Some of them are Reformed Mormons or progressive, I guess. I don't know what the official terminology is. One of them is a Muslim. She used to be Mormon. She's a brown woman, or Asian woman, I should say, with a black husband. And then there's a straight up black woman. And that's who we're going to talk about today. This black woman, her name is Mary Cosby. As far as I know, no relationship to America's favorite disgraced dad. But apparently Mary Cosby married her step-grandfather. And that to me is just like really, really bizarre. I don't know why I did this. I want to take it off. I don't know. This doesn't need to be on my face at this time. It's just very bizarre to me. I just don't understand why anybody would think to do that. But then I did a deep dive, and I feel like I probably could do a whole like deep dive into it. But basically, long story short, Mary married her step-grandfather, aka her grandmother's husband. But the drama of it all is that it was at the request of her grandmother, that like her grandmother said that when she died, she would have to marry her. She wanted someone to marry the son. I mean, to marry, look at me, the son, to marry her husband. And so when I was doing my research, right, and I apologize if anything I say is slightly off because I'm just making some of this shit up. No, I'm not making any of it up, but I have limited information in front of me right now. But Mary, what am I trying to say? When her grandmama died, her grandmama said, I want, according to Mary on the show, she was like, when her grandmother died, she said, I want one of them to marry, I want one of my girls to marry my husband. The thing that makes that a weird, like when you do a deep dive, like, and this is a well-documented story because it's crazy. Her grandmother was a pastor. Her grandmother moved from, you know what? I'm just going to read to you guys because why not? So let me just pull up some receipts for your kids because why not? At first I was gonna take a little moment and like be cute, but I don't know. I'm just feeling very, you guys are my friends. It's a live show. Let's just have a kiki. And I read to you last week. So let's just read again. Oh, I could have probably been better prepared, but I could have also been worse prepared. Could have been worse for wear. So the name of their church is the Faith Temple Pentecostal Church. And I just realized now this whole episode is probably going to be about Mary Cosby. I wanted to talk to you guys about Dave Chappelle as well as Janet Hubert, but we'll see if we get there, maybe for another day. So the history of the Faith Temple Pentecostal Church. In January, this is long, but it'll be fun. For those of you that don't know, the Faith Temple Church is the church over which Mary is the first lady. Her husband is the pastor and also her grandfather or step-grandfather. And just some backstory, her grandmother met, like, he was only 22 when he married her grandmother, and she was like 20 years his senior. So even though she's younger, or not she's younger, even though Mary is 20 years younger than her husband, aka her step-grandfather, he is not like 90 years, he's not like he was an old man. He's actually not that. He's like 20 years older than her, which isn't, in the scheme of relationships, 20 years is not, the craziest thing out there these days. But I just wonder, like, was he actually her grandfather? Like, was she calling him granddaddy? And then they got married. So in January of 1961, Dr. Rosemary Redmond Cosby, also known as Mama, left her home in Indianapolis, Indiana, where she stepped out on faith, determined to obey God. And for those of you who don't know, aka everybody, I'm reading to you from the Faith Temple Pentecostal Church website, which was designed with the Wix.com website builder. Create your website today. Not sponsored by me, but apparently they also didn't pay to get a premium site. So there's a banner at the top letting you know that this is a Wix site. But me and Wix have no affiliation at this time. Mama left her home in Indianapolis, where she stepped out on faith, determined to obey God. Leaving behind family and friends, Mama journeyed to Salt Lake City with her 4 small children. Now, the question that I have, maybe it will be answered in this, is who is the daddy of them 4 small children, or daddies? And I think that is, I don't know if it's important, but I'm curious. When Mama left Indianapolis, and they put Mama in quotes, so that's like her nickname. When Mama left, it's very creative. When Mama left Indianapolis, she only had enough money for bus fare to St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, but she's trying to get to Salt Lake City. And this is where, like, my production team eventually will get here, where we could like map out the road from Indianapolis to St. Louis and show you like where we are. So Mama's mind was made up that after the money ran out, she would walk the rest of the way. God laid it on friends' hearts to drive Mama to St. Louis, and she caught the bus to Kansas City, Missouri. So she was able to get a ride to St. Louis, and so now she was able to use her bus fare to get to Kansas City. Progress, favor ain't fair. That's what they say, right? Everybody ain't able. Some folks make it. Some folks fake it. Some folks fake it till they make it. There, believing and trusting in God, Mama and her 4 small children began their incredible journey, walking to Salt Lake City. Seeing that it was in the month of January, they were cold and hungry, but Mama promised God, and she was determined to walk all the way. Now, this is the thing. I've made promises with God. Like, you be like, oh, God, if if I don't get pregnant this one time, I'm going to be whatever. And the beauty of God, and I got to respect the faith that she kept her promises, because I think I'm going to step out on the limb and say we've all at some point in our lives made a promise to God that we couldn't keep. And that's the beauty of God, that he knew that when we made that damn promise, we were alive. Like when you ask your mama to borrow $5 and you know good and damn well she's never going to see that money again. And she knows good and damn well, but she lends it to you anyway because, you know, that is what that is. Until you get to the point where she's like, okay, I'm going to stop. Like, if you need money, just fucking ask me. Stop asking for loans you're not going to pay back. When Mama arrived in Junction City, Kansas, which was about halfway to Salt Lake City, she spent a lot of time in Kansas and Missouri. Halfway to Salt Lake City, Mama encountered a Christian woman with the lowercase c by the name of Mrs. Campbell. Mrs. Campbell heard about Mama's hardship, which Mama never counted her journey as hardship. Who wrote this? So this is all one sentence. Mrs. Campbell heard about Mama's hardship, which Mama never counted her journey as hardship. Mama often told her children, when we get to Salt Lake City, we will have a testimony, but worried only for her children. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back. Can somebody in the comments help me understand the sentence? Mrs. Campbell heard about Mama's hardship, which Mama never counted her journey as hardship. Mama often told her children, when we get to Salt Lake City, we will have a testimony, but worried only for her children. I guess they're saying she worried for her kids. She didn't really think of herself as having a hardship, but she did worry for her kids. I guess. I'm not sure. Along the way, one of the local churches of Mama's denomination heard of Mama's walk to Salt Lake City. This beauty blender is not clean. The local church put Mama and her small children in one of their homes. And I do think that there's some beauty in the story, because if this lady wanted to get to Salt Lake City, that ain't my business, right? You just need a place to stay. You walking from Indianapolis to Salt Lake City. Go ahead. And I feel like Indianapolis has come up a lot this year, because that's also where Madam C.J. Walker, you know, started her business. So maybe that city is more important than we've given it credit for, because I don't really, you know, be thinking about things. Side note, the population of Salt Lake City is only 2% Black. So I don't know why she was in a rush to get there. One of the elders of the church encouraged Mama to run a revival, soon, with an apostrophe S after elders. Soon the word spread around the surrounding cities about a woman and her 4 small children walking to Salt Lake City. I want to know what this city is. Perhaps people came from miles around to see this woman with endless faith and hear her testimony. So now this is a good scam, and maybe I should try this, right? Like if I just said, you know, God put it on my heart to walk to LA, maybe I should do that. Would you guys like follow along? Would you guys donate to a GoFundMe for me to walk to LA? If that was what was put on my heart, I should have had like a wig cap or something, which I don't have. I look like I'm about to do a mime. Maybe I should do a mime. What do you do when you've done all you can, and it seems like it's never enough? Night after night, offerings were lifted. See, here it comes. Every time you know the scam is coming. Night after night, offerings were lifted for Mama's journey to Salt Lake City. I gotta say, Mama got a good scam going. So she was like, God put it on my heart to walk. You gonna help me walk? It's like you gonna help me walk or nah? Oh, or nah? Okay, fine. I'm gonna just keep on walking. I'm walking. It says Salt Lake, Indianapolis to Salt Lake. Chris, that's where I said Indianapolis to Salt Lake City says it would take 20 plus days. Oh, girl, this is about I feel like this is a 6-month journey, to be quite honest, because she's doing services along the way, getting her money up. You see the, I'm not gonna call it a scam, but you see the journey. I think she's getting her money up along the way. Night after night, offerings were lifted for Mama's journey to Salt Lake City. Although Mama was treated good and she was living comfortably, it was time to continue her trip to Salt Lake City that God had instructed Mama to do. Although many offerings were taken from Mama's journey to Salt Lake City, on Mama's departure, so even though Mama had the money at this point, the local church bought Mama and her children train tickets and gave them food. So that means that she was like, I got it. And they're like, no, we got it. You keep that. And she was like, okay, cool. Let me get a Coach bag. Mama didn't complain. Why would she complain at this point? Like at this point, the complaining has left the building. And she also thanked God. and all this jingle jangle, which I'm gonna watch Jingle Jangle, by the way, y'all. I just haven't, because I was waiting for Thanksgiving. And after Thanksgiving, I'm giving y'all full Christmas drag. Be ye ready. 'Tis the season. Fa la 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 la. Now, upon arriving to Salt Lake City, Mama endured a great hardship. Nowhere to live, no food, many persecutions, and great afflictions. I feel like we need to tease out what these are. Like, what were the persecutions? Although I think it's real, because she's a Black woman, and this is like 1961 or something in Salt Lake City. So I think that, the persecution is real. But what were the afflictions? But through it all, Mama was determined to do God's will, knocking on doors and witnessing to people in a city that was predominantly Latter-day Saints. This city, Salt Lake City, Utah, was a city that great men of Pentecost passed by, stating that Salt Lake City was too hard to establish churches. Now, this is my thing, and I guess shout out to Mama, because I'm like, if you believe, right, and like, to be fair, to be clear, I'm a person of spirituality. I was raised in the Christian tradition. I believe that there is something a great beyond. I think that that's something can be called many different things. I think Jesus is a great fable, folktale, story based in truth that has been manipulated and evolved for our journey purposes. So, so too is true of many of the great religious texts. I think that they all have equal validity, and I don't think that I'm, by no means am I anti-spiritual atheist, not even agnostic. I also, though, welcome people's ability to interpret it however they want. This ain't about me, but the point I wanted to make was, if you say that you're a person of faith and you supposed to be spreading the good news, do you get to be like, ooh, child, it's just too many Latter-day Saints? I guess, like, which one is it? If you dare to spread the good news, don't use this makeup is irritating to my skin. I'm regretting it already. But do you not continue to try, or just be like, oh, child, not there, anywhere but there? That is just too much going on there. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making sense. But they gave up. But Mama, where are we? But through God, because God promised Mama through scriptures and prophecy that he would establish Mama in these mountains without help from Mama's mother. Here's another long sentence. It's a sentence. It's also a paragraph. Let me catch my breath. Here we go. But through God, because God promised Mama through scriptures and prophecy that he would establish Mama in these mountains without help from Mama's mother, church, or organization, and with all odds against Mama being a woman and a Black woman in the early 60s, Mama overcame the odds, and Satan himself, and Mama established Faith Temple Pentecostal Church, which is where I'm reading from right now. That's my own editorial, but yes. Do I want to contour a little bit? Yep, I do. So she's established the church. Mama saw a more glorious and excellent, nobody read this aloud ever. Mama saw a more glorious and excellent day coming. Mama continued to seek God until God revealed in her the Father and the Son. Mama saw the sonship and the humanity of Jesus Christ. And even further, Jesus was a man just as we are. Jesus was the seed of David. Not only can we be like him, but we can also live as Jesus lived. God saw, there's a period there. God saw that we were off the foundation that was laid by the prophets and apostles, and Jesus himself being the capital C chief, capital C corner, capital S stone, chief cornerstone. Is that like chief executive officer? The problem I have here, and I'm not here to belittle anybody's spiritual journey, and I don't want to think that that's what I'm doing, even though maybe that is what I'm doing. It's not really the journey, it's the journey. For me, the thing I'm challenged with right now is just, I'm always challenged when commerce comes into spirituality, right? And that's why I struggle, just being really transparent. That's why I struggle with like T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, that even if they may have a word, and I'm not saying that these people are not without, hell, even Oprah Winfrey, even though she doesn't consider herself a pastor, Ayanna Van Zandt, who's I've given her money to study at her institute. or take class. Actually, I'm not gonna say study, but it's like these people, I think once the commerce comes into it, it gets sticky for me. And I absolutely recognize that, like, we are all flesh and we must all live in the world, regardless of what our spiritual designation is. But I just think that, like, at a certain point, if what you're offering is rooted in truth and you can connect me to the great beyond, why do I have to either pay for it, or why are you so caught up in the Chanel of it all, right? Like, shouldn't whatever is beyond, shouldn't that be enough? Am I being foolish? So when I see a pastor on TV, I'm talking about Mary Cosby, talking about she was late to meet her friends going skiing because she was waiting for her Chanel ski suit to arrive, even though she had another ski suit. Is that the work of the Lord? Is that the work of God? I don't know. I'm not convinced. Christy said, they say on the site, this Mary thinks she's God. I feel like people are saying it's cultish, and I don't understand how it's different from another Pentecostal church. There is some culturization. They don't say that she thinks she's God, but as you saw, God revealed to her in the scriptures about Salt Lake City. And I'm like, shout out to you, Mary, that you got that direct line that, like, God was like, I'm about to write, I'm about to tell Malachi and Hezekiah and Jebediah and Josiah to write, whatever they're gonna write. But I want to make sure that this brush is dirty, that in the scriptures for you, I have a prophecy, prophesy. So, chief cornerstone, God established through Mama. Why did you do that? That was dumb. Oh, it doesn't look too bad on camera though. Do you see what I see? A star, star, racing in the night. Let us bring him goodness and light. I had to vamp because my monitor is over here, my mirror is over here. So, God established through Mama a church of ministers as Elisha established a school of prophets. Mama teaching the ministers to be of one mind, going against everything that mainstream Christianity teaches and allow God himself in her. There's your question, Christy. Period. Capital T. Thereby showing us that it is possible and showing us the very essence of God, that as ministers, according to the Bible, not what man states, but that we must live and be like Jesus. Not okay. Now, this is where that was all one sentence. This is where I get thoroughly and legitimately confused. And we're pretty much done here. There's like 2 more sentences. Not according to the era in 325 AD, the Roman Emperor Constantine, along with the bishops, the head of the churches came together in Nicaea in agreement and took the church away from what the apostles taught and died for. Therefore, through Mama, God established a ministry with one mind, the voice of God's ministries, back to the foundation. And this is attributed to none other than this whole essay, we're going to call it an essay, was attributed to none other than the Bishop Robert C. Cody. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Brown. Robert C. Cosby. Robert C. Cosby. Robert C. Cosby. So if you haven't been keeping up, Robert C. Cosby is the husband in question. And so now what I find interesting, right? And so what I think was happening, to be honest, is that I think that Mary's grandmother knew or felt or was concerned that, like, she had built this church on her back. She had been hustling since she left Indianapolis. And apparently she has, like, there's the church in Utah. They also set up another church under the same name, like a satellite church or a number 2 church in Indianapolis. And so I think she was like, what this young boy not about to do is run off with my money, because he could have very well done that, right? She passed away. He could have married somebody new, and then that person would have been the first lady, and now they would have reaped the benefits of her thing. So she was like, nope, it's going to stay in my family. And it's like, in that way, she really is no different than, like, the royal families of Europe. And I'm not, royal families in general, right? They like, it's not only this happened in Europe, but the Europeans were big on this marrying. But you see this in like the Hasidic Jewish community contemporarily. You see this in Asian communities in history, just all the world, where people are like, nope, we're keeping this in the family. We're going to marry first cousins and such, so that it doesn't get too far outside of the family. And that's why like all the fucking European first families connect some way or another. So she's not really unique in that way. And he wasn't Mary's biological grandfather, so we didn't really have to worry about like any issues with genetic I was gonna say testing. We didn't have to worry about anything with you know, like genetic diversity or complications in that regard. I have a Cupid's bow, but I'm gonna get rid of it today. I want a simple, smooth, clowny kind of lip. And so, yeah, that's what I believe happened there, which I'm like, I kind of get it, girl. Protect your investments. You work hard to build, you know, something from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you want to be with me. But so the thing that gets crazy, which apparently, if you see tonight's episode, Mary's mother wanted to be the one to marry him, to inherit all the stuff. Now, can you imagine marrying your stepdaddy? Like, can you imagine what that would have been? That season of Real Housewives of St. Louis or Salt Lake City or whatever it would have been. So my thing is, I'm not here to judge nobody's choices, like in general, but I can talk about them on the show if you decide that you want to put them on TV. So what's crazy is apparently there was a suit within the family because the family members or some family members believe that like the death was suspicious. And what I do think is interesting is that like she died of natural causes at a relatively young age of like 65. But I mean, I guess if you have assets, you should have a will. But you know, that she had this whole plan and that they were all ready to activate it. And in case you were wondering, Mary did consummate her marriage. I feel like I'm talking about Mary and Joseph, and they actually have a child. And so can you imagine, more than having to marry your step grandfather, can you imagine being like, oh, this is my father great grandfather? Like, I just can't imagine that. Like, what is that conversation? Something from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something. I thought I had a blue lipstick. Oh, yes, I do. So, and nothing like using a lighter liner than actual lipstick, right? We'll see where we end up. So, yeah, so that's that. There was a $1 million lawsuit where Reverend Cosby, side note, if your name is Cosby, just change it. But Reverend Cosby had to pay about $1 million to the estate, which was led by one of the children, because they felt that she was, they were hiding some money or whatever. So I read in that article they said that there was going to be an appeal, but I didn't see anything documenting the appeal. But I haven't done the full deep dive. This is not the full deep dive. Yeah, so they had to pay $1 million, which means her estate must have had some coin or whatever. But did she sell out, or is it love? Only 65. Who are you talking about? I don't know who sell out. Let's read her obituary. Her obituary wasn't really interesting, but there was something that was curious to me though, because in the obituary they mentioned that there were some other kids, or that she had kids. She has 6 kids listed in the obituary. And so I'm like, did she have more kids with the Cosby man? Because if she had more kids with the Cosby man, this gets even crazier, because I don't even know how to break down. So if let's name the kid John and Jane. If she had a child named John and 2 children, John and Jane, And then those were Mary's uncles and aunt, right? Because that would be Mary's mother's sister and brother. But then now she married their father. So they're her uncle and aunt and also her stepkids. There's a video of Mary's cousin circulating. He claims the grandmother wanted her out of the church before her death. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, none of us is ever going to know the fullness of this. And I mean, I guess this is exactly why Bravo, Andy, and them wanted her on the show, because, hello, look how many spins I just gave them. You know what I mean? Like, this is great TV. But to me, this also feels like, in some ways, has Real Housewives jumped the shark? Like, is this the end of the era for the franchise? Like, just because I feel like this season is going to be wildly entertaining, but I think it's going to just also be kind of like ridiculously over the top. Because then you have Jen, and Jen is the one who is Tongan and Hawaiian, but she says that like in Salt Lake City they don't know what that is, so she's just Black, and that's how she's treated, and she has a Black husband. And I kind of got what she was saying by that. Not that she thought she was Black, but she's just like, in this community there is not it's not even nuance. There's just not the sophistication to recognize that like some people be from Tonga, and Tonga is a place in the South Pacific. I think that's where it is. Look at me, I'm people. Some people don't even know where Tonga is. And so those people, they treat me like a Black girl, and my kids are Black and my husband's Black, but she's just doing the most. And you can tell that she be acting, and she's trying to make sure she makes it another season because she smelled like hospital. LOL, which that is a real smell. So, yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like it's feeling a little like they jumped the shark. Ugh. This is the problem with these little like Amazon not sponsored products. They just are not very good. Like, I need like Anastasia Beverly Hills, not sponsored. Is Mary a sellout? Does Mary love the stepdaddy? It's weird. And it's also a heavily religious themed season so far. Well, I feel like everything in Salt Lake City is going to be religious. They also go to church. So where are we going with this? If you've seen the trailer, you know this look. They started, it's a heavily religious season because I feel like religion is just so omnipresent in Salt Lake City, or I imagine it to be omnipresent. I'm not from Salt Lake City, and I think that like I'm very much interested in like cults and multi-level marketing. My internet disconnected. I'm just going to keep on talking in the event that it's still broadcasting. I enjoy cults and multi-level marketing and all of these. Ooh, these colors match even better than I anticipated. There it is. So I'm a unicorn, and I gotta like slouch down. I love a good call. I love a good multi-level marketing scheme. I don't know that those things are always different. And so I'm gonna, I'm very fascinated. I'm probably gonna do a deep dive on my own time. Maybe I'll bring it to you guys into the Church of Latter-day Saints, because I just want to understand like what are people being told and how they wind up joining these things. But as for Mary Cosby and her mama and her grandmama, it is just so weird. And I just don't understand how people do that. But who are me to judge? I ain't no better than nobody. Take a picture to last longer. I wanted to sing a song for you guys. So that's all I got on Mary Cosby. We'll see what happens the rest of this season. The other thing is that I'm like, since she seems to be happy in her relationship, what is the journey? What's the arc? Maybe I'll do a musical number next week. I was going to do a musical number, but I don't know. It's not what's on my spirit at this time, since we're in a spiritual journey. Are unicorns anti-Christian? can you be a Christian and believe in unicorns? Or, because I know like some churches don't do like Halloween and wizards and witches, but what about unicorns? Mm, mm, mm. That's really all I have for you guys. I was going to talk about Janet Hubert, but now I'm just like dressed up like Joy. I also got sad news that someone I know passed away, a young person. Well, they're an adult, but younger than me. So I'm just trying to be exuberant and jubilant wherever we can and choose joy and find happiness wherever we can, because we live in crazy times. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Please don't be the smallpox blanket and like host a super spreader party. If possible, know your status. If you can get tested, do so. I know there's free texting in New York City. Testing in New York City. I imagine there's free testing at other places. Wear a mask. If you feel sick, stay home. Christian says she's also boring aside from the granddaddy storyline. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there isn't really much of a storyline. It's like, okay, you spend a lot of money on bad fashions and you sleep with your grandfather. Wow, how interesting. So that is that on Mary Cosby. We got to explore their website. I have to be honest, I won't be joining the church anytime soon. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you will find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. If birds fly over the rainbow, why can't I? That's all I have. We're here every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. If you haven't already, the Nico Anna interview is up. Some new interviews. My hands look extra brown now. The Nico Anna interview is up, both parts. That's the whole interview. Also have some other exciting interviews coming, some other creative projects. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, tap the bell notification so you can be the first to know when things like this happen. And then also maybe tell a friend or not. It's always your choice. Just make sure that you choose joy. That's all I got. If happy little bluebirds fly away, oh why can't I? Good night. Happy Thanksgiving.